Recording off the break.
You said what?
So this joint's recording off the top.
Oh, we'll record.
Bang. We are live. All right.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. All right. So let me do the official welcomes and all that. All right. So we are here at the Art of Noize Artist Talk with Rodney Buck Herring. Is that your name?
Buck.
Buck for short, everybody. Buck for short. All right. So for those that don't know Buck, who is a cultural icon here in DC, Buck has, what have you done, Buck? You're an award-winning graphic designer. You know, you worked for companies.
I'm an award-winning visual artist.
and visual artist.
I love it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
let's start this off.
They're gonna censor the hell out of this artist talk. It's gonna be all kind of, and they can put like little blurbs over top of our mouths and shit. Like it. 1 o'clock on a Sunday and first of the month.
There you go. All right. I'm gonna redo that intro.
Or just keep going.
Yeah,
let's just rock out.
I'm Wesley Clark with my guy here, Buck, resident artist at Art of Noize this month.
That's right.
All right. So Buck, let's jump into this thing.
Okay, cool.
And actually, just for context, for those that see this later, Buck and I have been rocking out for years. So you might sense the informalities,
right?
Taking back and forth.
This is actually gonna be hilarious now. Now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm sorry to interrupt you, conductor.
Yes, thank you. All right, so just so people who don't get to see, your statement or what have you, a cultural crusader through visual arts, Buck is a multifaceted creative with work reflecting humanity's motivating forces while creating dialogue for its viewers. Raised in Baltimore, Buck thrived at Hampton University, majoring in art.
I did not thrive. I survived. Let's be clear.
It always reads better than the actual. After landing in DC, he found his artistic home here, utilizing passages of text and varied typography, layered with boldly silhouetted and highly contrasted figures to explore the various layers of human experience. Booyah. Let's get into it, Buck.
Word.
Let's get into it. Let's start with that artist statement, brother.
Ooh.
We're going to start with the artist statement. Yeah. That reads, in all things. I'm going to read this as well so we can check.
The funny part is I know you go about to pick this shit apart. So
no, man, I actually thought this artist statement was like pretty amazingly accurate and on point for your work and knowing who you are. So there is probably a bias that's taking place in there, but
that's right.
It starts off with man uses his ideas for the defense of his existence to frighten away reality. Wow.
That's some real ass shit. That's the
that is real. So then you give us from there a list of 20 directives, statements, thoughts to leave us with. First off,
honestly, they're not directives. They're literally just points.
Just points.
Points that points from my perspective that I not only agree with, but that if you know me well enough to know that I put a lot of thought into each one of those tenets or each one of those to be like they're kind of a personification of myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably wrong at this point in the day, but it's kind of like, yeah, like I can agree with those without putting too much thought in it, but to also provoke thought at the same time. So there's a space in there. It's almost like a meditation.
Right. Okay. A space and a meditation.
You know what I mean? Like it's like It's like the things that you think about and the things that you know are right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I know that these statements hold some truth to them.
Right.
So I can find the space to kind of meditate on them and grow from there. You know what I'm saying? So, meditation should be about at some point being able to find a path for growth for me. And so I feel like each one of these I can meditate on and I can move forward off of that thought, off of each one of those thoughts.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah. So I
don't
mean,
know.
so I'm curious, like, so when you say that, or when like when I look at these, right? You know, the first one starts off, there is no one narrative, find your way, right? And
Yeah.
so immediately to me, that's I'm I'm reading this as the context of an artist statement, and like,
Right.
and so it reads like, okay, bang. Well, first off, you find your way through the work, and
Yeah.
okay, and so then you are here, awareness, breathe. Your humanity is challenged every morning you wake up. I say good day to you, sir, madam, ma'am, which sounds very buckish.
Uh,
Come to terms with death, whereafter anything is possible. Camus. Who's Camus?
he's a writer, French. I think it's French writer.
French, just a random French writer.
Been gone. Just very like a lot of existential thoughts on existentialism. Just I'm still learning. I'm still learning about. I'm still learning about
Okay.
it. Let me.
He's new to the portfolio.
I'm still digging because he was an author, French author. Probably like I don't know. We might have to edit some of this because I might be like, oh, that's totally wrong.
Right.
Albert Camus, Camus. I'm sorry, Manito, the enforcers on the right hand side of me right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Paid in full. I feel like I'm like Noriega and paid in full. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Crazy. But no, if you can keep going through these. My bad. I mean,
All good. All good. Conflict only exists where there is division. Krishnamurti. So in many, so as I'm going through, like some of these almost begin to read almost like a best hits from the work in a way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so each one of the pieces you'll see, and I know we're gonna talk about that too, but you'll see pieces of these in each one of the pieces, or you'll see you may see the whole quote. You'll see
Okay.
whole quotes, and you'll also see bits and pieces of quotes, but you'll see that this kind of an idea floats throughout the whole thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like ongoing, like you should be able to read my pieces and put together a narrative. You know what I mean? So it should be this piece and that piece, and you can go back and forth, and you'll see how they relate. Because of course, they should all relate. And in my case, in this case, they all relate. You know what I mean?
So are you saying, but are you saying that even from one piece to the next, like how well, I mean, because the text is clearly one of your main elements that you use to the work, right? Obviously. What, like, how intertwined, I guess, are the pieces when it comes as far as the text is concerned? Like, do you have one book that you've been reading, and in that you might just pull it in various pieces, or how do explain the text aspect as far as what you were saying and the connection?
I guess for me, the text aspect is always what I'm finding interesting and what I'm studying personally.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm looking at I'm reading probably about I don't know 6-7 books right now. And I'm looking, and so I'm going from the idea of understanding what real freedom is to understanding what becomes when we become followers and we're not free. So you know what I'm saying. So I'm covering this range of freedom right now, right? And it's freedom of thought, freedom of movement. But I'm also thinking about what happens when you have mass movements. and how the brain works with interacting with all these different people and things. You know what I'm saying? People and feelings and pressures, pandemics. You know what I mean? So the piece is what I'm trying to do is like I'm using text from what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, and how do I put it? It's just there's always, there should always be an overlap, right? So I'm going from piece to piece and I'm continuing to think about those same ideas. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's not a straight up, it's not it's not like a linear narrative.
Right.
But once you see the narrative, it becomes a patchwork quilt that becomes that is a singular idea in the end.
Okay.
Any sense?
Yeah. So I mean, so as you're working, I mean, you're pulling just from almost would you say intuitive basis, or like when do you insert a quote?
Oh, that's so it depends on no, because it's not just I just don't insert. It's like it's twofold, right? It's you know me, so I kind of like I'm always thinking. Always got two trains of thought running, right?
Right.
So initially, if you look at a lot of the pieces, the background when I start because you know these are like we're talking about 5-6 layers of different things. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah, I mean the layers are deep, which is we'll get into that later. But yeah.
But one of I think the second layer is always text. The second layer is always text. So I'll put down a layer of color. So it might be a flat yellow. So I'm using like zinc cadmium or some shit right now. Yellow, right? Okay. So it'll be the flat color, and then I'll write. I may take a whole paragraph or a half a page from a book, depending on how long it is. You know what I'm saying? It might be a whole page. Write that down on the canvas. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm putting another layer over top of it, and another layer on top of it, and then that's just that helps create structure. All right. So then I can build a structure off of that. But then when I come back in later on, so then I like halfway through, I'll start dropping a little bit more text in. And that's just kind of like, it gives me a breather from trying to, you know, work through the structure. So there's a point where it's kind of like, I'm using text to kind of like alleviate any stress around what I don't feel is comfortable. I'm explaining just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It becomes about comfort. And then after that, then the last layer of text is like when I go back and I'm popping over top of everything else. And that layer is more so intuitive because I'm going off of my feeling. You know what I'm saying? That's like, because at that point, my brain should be working at a point. It should be working almost like you said, intuitively. Right. So I've been reading these things. I've been listening to all these things. I know where these things are located in the books or like, you know, on YouTube or whatever resource I'm using at that point. I go back and find those things and just drop them in where I feel they're comfortable and they create a rhythm. But they're also like, if you read them and look at them, you'll see how they all connect. You know what I'm saying? But it should be at a point where I feel, I was gonna say relieved, but it's not relieved because it's not, because there's no feeling at that point. That's also a meditative point because then you're just, you know what I mean? When you're just in motion, in action, that's basically like a meditative state. It's just, you know that feeling because you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, when it kind of like a zone, essentially.
Basically zone. I was in the zone. Yeah, all that bullshit.
Right. Okay, I got you. So even I mean, like I'm thinking about when you say like the second layer is always text.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, I don't want to say do you not care about it because you know you're about to get, you know, wipe it out. but like how important, like I guess, like how do you even determine like the importance of what you're writing per se at that moment, or is it just about what's in the moment and to get that layer, like you said, that structure down to
Here's
get
the great
what
shit.
you need?
Here's the great shit. That's always the hardest part, because you put like down a layer of text.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens throughout the whole process for me. So that's why I have to put pieces away, and it's kind of learning. So it's the idea of learning impermanence. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing lasts forever, nothing's forever. You just got to keep moving. Cause like those, like I'm sure that if I just did these pieces where I just wrote on them and just like, yo, this is for sale, niggas would be like, oh man, that is the greatest text I've ever seen in my life. Woo! That saying, I needed that saying in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I could just, like that's, so it's something I've been thinking about, man. Like, yeah, it's, I'm trying to figure out how to say this shit for everybody and not be divisive. How to say it and not be divisive. That state is not a state of finality for me.
Right.
So me putting the text down, even though at that moment when I finish the text and I look at it, I'm usually like, this could be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on my path, I'm not comfortable with that being where I stay.
Right.
Where I reside. So I don't want the piece to reside in text or to reside in just that part of the thought, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm trying to figure out what's my next, what needs to happen next. You feel me? Like I'm like, okay, this text was cool, but what else could I do to this? What could go over this to that I can now? I want to evoke I want to start to pull your eye places, because I don't just want you to read right to left. And then I'm gonna start. So then what happens usually is I start to circle things and underline things. So this is the graphic design part.
Right.
Now I want to push your eye places on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being extremely deliberate. So, you know what I'm saying? And it's not smart. It's just how we know how your brain works, how your eye works, right?
Right, being intentional.
I put a big red X over here on the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Look at big red X, right? So then I'm gonna pull you this way with a smaller asterisk, and over here with a circle. So now I've got 4 words that stand out, and your eyes move this way. So now it's time for that, and now it's time for that structure. So I can like move your eye around, and now that text no longer matters. You know what I'm saying? But it's helped build this. It's building like this canvas, building these layers, and it's building all these other things that you can play around with. And now I feel like I'm kind of jumping. I'm gonna jump ahead so you can pull me back. But like
we're jumping all over the place. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But now what I've noticed is with what I've been doing is like I want to find like you know, I've been posting them on Instagram. Like I like creating like these little details. It's not even little details. I like just finding everything that I see on the canvas now, because now I've got this structure with all these different things. It's like circles and dots and lines, because you got the text and now you got all these graphic marks over top of it, right? Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden now I see like a faces and bodies. Then I can pull from my like library of like images, and then I'm creating these other things over top of, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that, and I've already decided I was gonna use these images at some point anyway, but now I'm looking at like, yo.
Right.
And then it keeps going, and that keeps growing. So I'm like, it's moving me along my path, and it's covering all the bases that, of course, maybe I considered at some point. But now I'm moving even past that to something else.
So let's jump into real quick the imagery that comes about with it. I mean, because you primarily are using female nudes, highly contrasted, young boys silhouetted, often.
That just sounds weird.
It did sound weird, and and it shouldn't be taken as such. And also like these caricatures that kind of have that I call them caricatures because they're like kind of like these new creatures slash I kind of think of them as like creatures and in a way because
they're more than just like a singular person or
right.
Yeah, my bad. Off camera, I'm like juicing up. I'm juicing. Woo! We had to pull it for a pit stop. Woo! But yeah, no, they're not like the idea of the images or the image you see being used aren't about necessarily a singular person or group. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you, it's just kind of like, I'm just giving you an idea. It's just an idea. This is just like a placeholder for whatever the fuck you want to put in here, because you're going to see yourself regardless.
Are you talking about like the figures in particular are placeholders?
Yeah, I think the figures are placeholders for whoever sees themselves or whatever they want to see. Because then again, it goes back to the idea the narrative is yours to create. So if we go back to the beginning, it's your narrative. You're going to see what the fuck you want to see.
Right.
You know? Like, yeah, does it
that big sigh. I just
because you know me, man. Like at a certain point, like I don't, I
know, which is why I'm. This is me harassing you to get get that out of you.
It's hilarious to me because I'm always like like people want to see certain shit, man. Like they're gonna see that shit and they get off on certain things, and I don't care about that as much as I care about you getting what I'm trying to get you a certain place. I don't give a fuck what you know what I'm saying? I know that this is a Toyota Camry like every other Uber you're in. You know what I'm saying? But how do I get to your destination? You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to, that was a bad, whatchamacallit.
I was like, are we supposed to feel like we're in a Lexus, you mean?
I don't know. But yeah, I'm utilizing the vehicle I have available to get you to your destination.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is whatever is necessary to make that vehicle available to you. You know what I mean?
All right. So so the destination though, which is another question I've been thinking about in terms of, do you have a point? Where do you want us to go? Let's just say where do you want us to go?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So a quick answer to that is, where do I want you to go? I just want you. I think my idea is always that we need to be moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think and I think "we" is a dangerous word at this point, but I was just more like
we is a dangerous word.
We is a dangerous word in this conversation at this point, because we would have. Some would want me to infer that we would mean one group of people or one identity or one blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying any one group, because that's the bullshit. And I don't want to create a division at this point. Right. We can create division when and if necessary in this conversation, but we don't need to at this point. What I'm trying to do is move us all forward. Like humanity has to continue to evolve.
Right.
What I'm trying to do is, by whatever means necessary, get you all in the car, get humanity in this Uber, and get them to the drop-off point. You know what I'm saying? Like, get them to the destination. So, hey, you guys should get in. That life is good. We are all here existing. We're all planning together. Fear. Oh no, we're scared of things. Yeah, we all are. Come on, get on in. You know what I'm saying? Just to the point where we get them to, we just want to continue to evolve. We want to move forward. We want to let go of the things that hinder us and harm us, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we do that? And this is just, and so if you think about, like, stylistically, I don't have a definitive style besides saying I use the text. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like, it's very collage, not on purpose. A lot of times I I don't have the tools necessary to do what you need me to do. You know what I'm saying? You know, like I don't paint like some of these niggas out here. You know what I'm saying? I don't quilt shit together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Build giant statues in my backyard, Wesley Clark. You know what I'm saying?
Me.
I don't have those abilities. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
so me, it's a mishmash of everything, and it is also that's related back to graphic design because we're gonna keep going on tangents. But that's me being able to collect things. Like I'm a collect. I learned how to collect things. You know, when I worked at the museum 45 million years ago. You know, one of my bosses was like, I ain't got much for you to do right now, motherfucker, but I just need you to collect images. Right. And so I learned how to collect images and imagery, you know what I'm saying? But I also had like resources like Reuters, and I had like all the news sources. Like I go through AP at any point in time I wanted to. So, you know what I'm saying? So like I learned how to collect images and text.
Right.
And if you're working you're working in like a newsroom, it wasn't a real newsroom. It was, technically, well, they did. Every once in a while they use it as a newsroom, but you're reading a lot. You know what I'm saying? You're intaking information. My intake of information, the amount of information I ingested, or learning how to ingest and take in all this information is just like. So I'm putting out. My output is any way necessary that I can put this imagery and this text back out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My brain is firing. And then, you know, we're artists. So we're interpreting and relating and, you know, putting it back out whatever way our brain is working. And my brain may not work the same way a writer works or editor-in-chief works. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I see these things that overlap and then I see how to pull it all together.
Jumping back real quick, you with the humanity, getting humanity in the car, right?
In the bus.
On
Get
the
them
bus.
in the bus.
Get humanity on the bus so we can all get to where we need to go. What so because I will admit at a certain point you started talking about humanity.
Yeah.
And I mean and I will say it's fairly recent within the 16 years we've been rocking together.
I would say the last 5-6 years.
You've been on this that long? The humanity tip? And I don't want to say the humanity tip, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, that humanity tip.
Right. Because at one point, I mean, early on, you know, it was, you know, this is Buck the Revolutionary. Black Power Buck. You know,
Black Power Buck.
You know, Black Power Buck.
Okay.
No, so I'm curious, like, when did this become like your thesis? Like,
I think it's the last 3 to 5, but it's also an adjusting my lens and just looking at things differently. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to say this without creating division.
Well, let me say, because you've never been exclusive.
No, never.
You've always been an inclusive person.
Extremely inclusive.
You know, but
extremely.
It's just how you've been thinking about it, and more importantly, how you've been exporting it out. You know, your output has shifted as far.
Yeah, that's the last 3 to 5 years, and that's just because I'm just with, you know, I think for a while I was doing a lot of parties, I was out a lot, I was meeting a lot of different people. I was around a lot of different people all at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because I think for not even that, I think for a short stint I bartended. At the same time I'm throwing parties. I'm already throwing parties and stuff. Right. You know, with the Drinker Friends crew. So we're doing that, and on top of it, I'm bartending, and on top of that, I'm trying to create. And my landlord for my office is not Black, but he's the coolest dude, one of the coolest dudes I know. You know what I'm saying? And then you got, you know, I sat in a room with a Lithuanian, an Eritrean, an Ethiopian, an Argentinian / what is Danny? Danny's like half something else, an Iranian, and you're watching a football match on the fucking screen. And you can't be like, man, them niggas is blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh man, we're all the same right now. You know what I'm saying? Like we're sitting there
Right.
talking about, yo, like this isn't the moment, but this is in travel also is important, right?
Mhm.
But if I'm thinking about a moment, like I'm in a room where it's like everything under the sun is in this room rooting on this football/soccer game, right?
Right.
And then at some point, somebody pulled up, Ali, Iranian cat, pulls up, he pulls out his phone. I think this Russian kid pulls out his phone, and then maybe the Lithuanian cat, Ziggy, pulls out his phone. And they're talking about getting sweatsuits. They're, basically like, yo, this is a fresh ass sweatsuit. And it's like the dopest conversation in the world, but it's like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? They're talking about this dope ass, like, because I think it was like FIFA, I forgot which year it was. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they got this dope, Adidas has a whole track collection coming out, and it's like, yo, I'm gonna get this track suit. You know what I'm saying? You're sitting there like, this is dope as shit.
Right.
All the fucking same. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and to not speak on, and of course, I don't feel comfortable speaking on everything that was going on in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you got this range of like all incomes, all walks of life. And when I say all walks of life, I mean like good to the bad or bad to the good. And those are relative terms, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whatever their experiences are, maybe that they've had to be this or that to get to where they need to get to be free.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're in a room with that many different type of people, you've got to change. Like there's no way that you're the same. You don't have the same, boundaries of saying that this person is this and that person is that. You know what I'm saying? You're cheering for the same thing. You're eating the same food. You're drinking the same liquor. You know what I'm saying? This is if there would have been a bar fight or something that had occurred outside, I know that all those different people in that room at that very moment would be fighting for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then you change your perspective on who is who and what's what.
Exactly.
You know? So once I start thinking about stuff like that, and once those things get caught in the cog, and it's not that, and like we said, I've never been exclusive. It's always inclusive, but my primary objective, you know what I'm saying, was the freedom of the African American people or just Black people. You know what I'm saying? Not just that's bullshit. But you know what I'm saying? But overall looking out for people of African descent.
Right.
And then you start, and you have to get beyond that, man. Like that's the idea of we're bigger than that. More important. And that concept, and when you start to study, you understand that concept is short-sighted because that concept is only 500 years old that you need to be exclusive and say that one group is African and they need to be identified just this one way, and this is this and this is that. That's 500 years old. We've been on the planet for probably 1 million years. You know, we have history dating back how many hundreds of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands of years, a couple, maybe 10,000 years, and maybe less, some sort.
Somewhere in there.
Recorded history. But we know that this is, if I look at anything, so what happened was when I started to think about it, like 500 years and shit.
Right.
Comparatively to understanding that even 10,000 years of history doesn't equate to the same. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, I don't see it there. So the bigger picture is what's most important. So the idea that, we all are all important. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Black Lives Matter. I needed to say that midway through the broadcast.
We are all important.
But yeah, it's I think the humanity tip kicked in when and there's travel too, man.
Like, I was gonna say, I mean, once you become once you're exposed to the cultures, other cultures in their place, because I know you've done Cuba, and you've done several others actually. I'm trying to think.
You've done a few.
You've done a few. But then, like you said, once when you're actually engaging, and you're a people person, like you engage with people, whether or not I know you sometimes like to claim you are not, but you certainly are.
You know, the other side of me is
I just want to be by myself.
fuck these motherfuckers.
Right.
There's always a chance for me to back out and be like, I'll see them later.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I just don't, I mean, and you know, like, honestly, man, like, I picked up on that, like, early on, and, like, I've probably been doing that all my whole life, though. So if we kind of, like, you know, I know we're skipping around, but I know you want to talk about, like, me growing up, the way I grew up and all that stuff. Like, I grew up in Baltimore County, right? So I grew up in a neighborhood where it was, like, 5% Black. You know what I'm saying? But we had, like, a wide variety of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think at one point, like, I had a friend that was from Chile. I had another friend that was, like, half German, half Korean. Another friend that was Iranian. Another friend that was Indian. Another friend that was Vietnamese, that was adopted by a white family, and the dad had polio, and he had a Filipino sister.
Goodness.
And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have that. And then it wasn't just white culture at a certain point, because now you're dealing with Germans, Italians. Like, we're talking about second generation families.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To the U.S. So you've got people that are like, oh no, we're German. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they get home, they're German or they're Italian. You know, and then you got, like, two different types of Italians that you hung around, like the Italians that still got accents and just got here, and the grandfather still only speaks Italian and calls you names, but it's okay because he's old. Grandpa's old. And then you go to a totally different Italian household to have dinner, and the motherfuckers is like some old shit out of, like, Sopranos, but they're not. They're just, that's a stereotype. It's just a good businessman. You know what I'm saying? So you got, like, you talk about from early on, you're learning to deal with different groups of people, not even on purpose, because you're trying to survive, and you're still a Black kid in America. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, so I think I picked up on that early on, but now it's kind of like, you know, so that just to move forward. Now, I think a lot of that has come back full circle for me, where it's like, I see the bigger picture without losing sight of, you know, what's in my file of importance. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, you love your family or what you believe to be your people, and still love everyone around you, and still try to, you know, of course you got to protect anybody and everybody wants to progress. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because we all experience trauma, we all experience pain, we all experience hurt. So that's right on. That's the human experience, right? So
So how do you? I mean, all right. So taking all of this larger humanity, global view, expansion, mind, how? Let's dive into the work a bit, because I want to see how this plays into the creation process.
Okay, and I'd love to say there's a beautiful background that you have behind you.
Thank you, brother. It is a random watercolor that exists as a print that just is, it's not mine. So
it's not yours?
No. This is like some corporate office joint that
shit. That's what I was digging. I was like, no. Playing around with some watercolors out here and getting out.
No, it's just a print.
Getting out of them in the hustle.
Just a print that
we started the Devour piece.
So actually, that happened to be the first one up, but this one was actually the next one. Is the one I wanted to get to.
You want to skip this one? Come back. What you want to do?
Well, you know what? Yeah, let's start with the next one. Not that one. Man, my order got messed up.
That's all good, man. It's only us on here.
All right. Oh, there it is. Okay.
It's only us.
This is the one I want to start with.
Oh, yes.
In all things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, did you purposely, this is the same title as the show.
Yeah.
So the title piece, the title work. So I
Yeah.
mean, this one it's really funny because looking at the show, I mean, this one is literally almost the embodiment of all the works in the show to me.
Yeah.
From a stylistic approach, you have the old and the new kind of really converging here.
Mm-hmm.
Would you, but yet this is creation wise, if I recall, like was we were in the gallery the other day, this one was I guess it was kind of like right at a tipping point in a sense, kind of right in the middle of things.
Yeah, but this is the one I would say, I think this piece, In All Things, is like the one where it's like I was feeling like definitive in a direction
Hmm.
and switching modes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like a complete change, it's more like being a little bit more crossing boundaries,
Hmm.
mixing. I think I actually had a verbal conversation. I mean, out loud conversation with a couple folks, where I was like, "Yeah, I'm just whatever I see, I'm painting. Or whatever I see, I'm making part of it." And it started out. It's very structured, actually. You know what I'm saying? It's very structured, and then it's like, just going back over and top, going back over or over top of it over and over and over again.
Right.
And I see something that I felt resonated, including that, and then seeing that the whole thing was a feeling. Because it man, it's like points out. I was sitting in my bathroom for a second. It's like a huge piece that was like I didn't have any room left. I put it in the bathroom. This shit was huge in the bathroom. So it's just like so you can see. It's so like
That's how you study your work.
crazy.
It's probably some of the best place to study a piece.
You studied the hell out of that shit. Like, oh word, see where that could go. But it's like, but yeah, it was definitive in being like, it's not. I didn't necessarily have to stick to one thing.
Hmm.
I could play. It's like it was this decision that like I could play more.
Gotcha.
You feel me? Because you get at a certain point. I think it's also like, I mean, because it's basically it's a two-part series, right? And so the water will find its way preceded this, but that was started in. They were all started at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? So the previous series is the same. Yeah, they all start. Yeah, they're all like the same. That's not there. These are all after January.
Well, so yeah, I was gonna say this is I mean, because I saw this in person prior to. I mean, this is pre-pandemic, so prior to March, right? But it
Before then. It
huh?
wasn't finished before the pandemic.
Oh no, it definitely wasn't finished. But I mean, because I saw the start of it, and this figure was the. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving. The top red figure was already in place,
Yep.
and we were talking about like you were just gonna put bodies in, like in there, different ways and such. And I remember thinking, I was like, well, this one's already in a great spot.
Position. Yeah.
And the pose was great for it to be there. And so I was just curious to see like where else it was gonna go. This was by no means what you were doing
No.
prior to.
Yeah, and I think the thing was at a certain point, I was like, yo, I just gotta play. Like I was like, because I started feeling constricted by just trying to be like, because the other part of the series, the water will find its way pieces, which are also included in the series, are like at a certain point of thought, and it's kind of like it's I'm thinking about ideas around existentialism and that thought process and being beyond just yourself, right? But then it became just too airy, ethereal, and it felt like not preachy, but just kind of like, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to tell people to, I want to tell them to be free, but they don't have to do what the fuck they want to do. And also, maybe I don't want to be free today. Maybe I don't want to be reaching for the stars. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, maybe I want to look at some booties. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I like going to the corner store. Maybe I see a face in there and it's some goofy shit. Or maybe I like Star Wars. Or maybe I like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or maybe maybe some nostalgia over a subway ride or a bus ride, or just, and so you'll start to see elements where I'm playing around with, I don't know if you can see me doing this, but like,
I cannot.
oh, that's too bad. Cause there's
Yeah.
like a little, like, there's like little fake R2D2s. There's like, little Star Wars elements. There's little cosmic slop, funkadelic, and, pieces that like are, that I reference from that. There's like, shops that you would find in like a market if you were like traveling. It's just all these different things.
Oh, try it now. You might be able to maneuver your mouse around and see. There you go. Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yep, I can see the mouse moving.
Oh, that's cool as shit. Bam!
Booyah!
Like there's like a little fake R2D2 in the corner.
Okay.
There's down in the right hand corner, like there's this whole like tribute to like Robin Island and South Africa, Johannesburg. And that's not Johannesburg, that's Cape Town. But that's where you go to see Robin Island, right? Yeah. And make sure. Oof. But like a shout out to Mandela and Biko. And then there's other elements where it's just like, like that's basically a train.
Mm-hmm.
There's a train in there. There's an open market, like a store. And we can get me off of this, but it's like, and then this upper corner is like cosmic slop.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like funkadelic. And then I did throw like free your mind, your ass will follow.
Right.
Like, but there's a bunch of figures and they all mean something and mean nothing at the same time. And that's what I wanted to do. That's that meditation. That's that idea where you can just get free and free your mind and just kind of let go of shit. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what happens where we get caught, we get confined by an idea, and we hold on to it, and then therefore we can't progress. So the idea was that, how do I progress beyond just that singular meditation on, getting free one way? What else can I think about? What else can I consider? What else can I just be at peace with? What else can I move forward with? So it's, so there's like, I think that there's multiple bodies in there. There's bodies in there that you don't even see anymore.
I was gonna say, I mean, at this point, like sometimes I keep looking at this kind of art shape, thinking like there's something is happening that flows into something else, but I can never tell. But then I also see is like, is this a transformer joint little symbol? Looks like right through here.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of that in there, man. Right. Like there's a whole, I threw like a knight, and there's an old school knight, like he's like a general, and he's got like a Sardinian flag on his arm.
Is that what that is? Because I was gonna ask you about this whole little section, like right here, like what is this and right there happening?
Yeah, no, it's just a whole like, I mean, it was, I started being like, man, I started getting to the idea, to the point, excuse me, where I was like, what are the things I just like? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like now I just want to play, like, what are things like I really have fun with? You know what I'm saying? Like, I like watching fucking movies about, I don't know, Conan the Barbarian is one of my favorite movies of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, the original Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger and with Earl Jones. You know what I'm saying? Max Van Sydow. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is awesome. Because that was actually not just a movie, that was a fucking piece of artwork. You know what I mean? So it's things like that like resonate with me. And so it's fine if they don't resonate with you, but I'm gonna include them in this piece. Watch this. Bam. You know what I'm saying?
Bam.
Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So why won't I have like little Star Wars figures in there, maybe of some sort? They don't have to be flushed out.
Mm-hmm.
That's in there. You know what I'm saying? I like the ladies' figures. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't I include a lady's figure in there? It just crosses my mind sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful women cross my mind.
Right.
Shout out to beautiful women everywhere.
So again, this is a case where I was looking at it and I was like, I'm not sorry for crying just now. It is proof of love. God is present in all things. What makes this the top layer of standout text versus why wasn't terror management theory, the goodness of all? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I think, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted.
oh no, that was pretty much it.
So basically, I think I'm running with that terror management theory as an underlying theme for a lot of the work. So it kind of just needs to be. It's kind of like it's there underlying because this is about acknowledging our fears that we may somehow lose our existence. That's a bad way to put it, but the fear of loss. And when I say the fear of failure, I mean the failure to thrive or to even be on the planet. So that's just in a lot of the pieces, you know what I'm saying? And this is my interpretation of terror management theory. So if I'm wrong, and if anybody wants to contact me from the Ernest Becker Foundation or anything, holla at me. I'm on it though.
All right. Well, hold on. Let me read what this terror management theory posits that the juxtaposition of an inclination towards self-preservation with the highly developed intellectual abilities that make humans aware of their vulnerabilities and inevitable death creates the potential for paralyzing terror. That's heavy. Yeah. That's a heavy.
Yeah, so basically you'll see that in everything that's there. So in all the pieces that's there, right?
Okay.
Because it's real, because we all have these moments where we're like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? When Black people are watching movies and complaining about movies that they probably shouldn't complain about, guess what? There's this feeling that they could be taken away from them. Their life could be taken away from them. Their existence could be taken away. They may not continue to exist in some way, shape, or form, or be erased. Mm-hmm. So that's their fear. That's what they're expressing every time they complain about things that you're like, if I'm watching Soul and you're mad about somebody's voice, I'm not worried about us dying off because of Tina Fey's voice. It's totally fine with me. She's a soul.
Right.
Fuck that is. But you know what I'm saying? So, but that isn't underlying, that we all have that little itch somewhere in us. You know what I'm saying? That's why we procreate. That's why we continue to do what we do. So it's a part of all the pieces. But to get back to the I'm not sorry for crying just now, it is proof of love. God is present in all things. There's a movie that's Iggy Pop is the narrator. And I just sent it to James a minute ago. The title of the movie. But it's there's this movie, it's this French movie about existentialism, but it's about like they interview like these artists. There's a poet, a photographer, and like painters, and all these niggas is crazy as shit. Shitball's crazy, but they are also grounded in their art, and they also ground this idea that they exist, and they want you to know that they continue to exist, right? And there's this dude, this little cherub-looking dude. You gotta watch. I'll send it to you so you can watch it. But this cherub-looking dude is like crying. He's like I think he's actually in a mental institution where they interview him. He's a poet. Mm-hmm. He says this exactly, and he's saying this. He's got a tear running down his eye, and it's like, my wife left me, and something happened. It's the bluesiest blues thing that you could ever have in your life, and they're saying it looks like what's the dude from Family Guy? That's who he looks like the whole time. But it's just this idea, and why that was so important to put over top of was just the idea that like, I just want to, like, you want to free up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a crier, so I don't understand how you do that shit. That's very hard for me. But I understand, like, if you need to cry and get something off your chest and get and free yourself of it. Mm-hmm. But that's also proof of like, it's just kind of like, then it's the idea that it is proof of love. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, proof that he can free himself up to be open and vulnerable to something. You know what I'm saying? But then it's also, but the other part of it, when the God part of it, I included that. And you know me, man, I'm not an atheist, but I am, I'm clearly not going to anybody's, I'm not a part of anybody's clergy. You know what I mean? But it's that idea that like, we gotta attach it to something. You know what I mean? And these are all the things. You know what I mean? So so for me, like God may be that. If I see a beautiful woman, I might say, "Oh God," you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so God is present in all things. Like, you know, like all of this.
Right.
Like I'm trying to, and with this piece, I feel like I was trying to give that breadth to that. You know what I mean? Like I want to open up to all of that as much as possible. So like this is really a collage of thought. Okay. Is that a good way to put it?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Bam!
Booyah, done. Next.
Bow!
So when you posted this one, or at some point I saw this. I don't know if you posted it or if you texted it to me, sent it to me.
Yeah, I posted it.
Yeah, definitely both.
Yeah.
Because I think I saw it prior to you posting, but I thought when seeing this one, that I was like, oh, okay, he's struck, like he's hit that mark, he's hit the newness that he's been looking for, right? Like
he's clearly lost his
no, I was like, this one, because I mean, we've been talking about like progressing, moving past the previous body of work or what have you, right. And I was like, bang, like he's not landed, but he's on course. He's in a direction, on a path now. Like it's clear, right? And this one, it felt clear. And I'll say, and I'm gonna jump ahead for real quick, that when seeing this one initially, I was like, ooh, am I in the market? Like, because I was like, this might be the next one I get from Bucky.
It's gone, baby.
I know, but I wasn't upset because A, it went to family, right. And then B, I wasn't in the market. So all things should sell, right? But then, so like I said, that was my impression when seeing this piece. But then I saw in person this one. Reality. Now, again, this piece is one of these pieces where when I saw it via text or online, what have you, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really know. I was like, oh, I don't know if he hit the mark on it, right? But in person, when I saw it, this one was like it was clearly the piece for me. Like
that's the piece.
You said that's what?
That's the piece. It is the piece.
It is the piece.
The piece.
And it's like the most, to me, of the work, it's probably the most difficult.
Yes.
Is that right? I mean, there's a lot of tension, a lot of action, a lot of like just complexity in there to me. And it was weird because I was like, at first I was like, I don't even know if I like it, but this is the one I have to spend money on.
But that's the point. So and that's where I'm trying to. Okay, so that's where I'm definitely trying to get to, right? So if you look back at the Devour piece ain't finished. No disrespect, it's not finished. Now looking at the reality piece.
Gotcha.
Like we were in the gallery the other day, and I was looking at because they're right next to each other in the gallery,
right,
and in the virtual gallery. Bam. Plug for the virtual gallery.
Plug.
But when looking at them together, I now know that this only stayed where it is out of my fear of moving forward. It took me forever to get it to this point where I felt comfortable. So at some point,
I wish I could put them both on the screen at the same time, but I'll just go back and forth.
Can't?
Nah, I mean, not without like, taking us all on the whole.
Damn you. No, so I see that to me at this point. And no, the whole family doesn't think this is a terrible takeaway. I just believe that now I'm looking at it like, yo, I could have just fuck this up and done whatever the fuck I want to do. You know what I'm saying? That's that's the other thing. Like you get to a point where you're like, I can just do whatever I want to do, and it's going to be what it is, and I can walk away from it, right?
So that's exactly, when I saw this one again, I was like, okay, like it was almost too clean when I saw it in person. Right? It was like too clean, but I don't know if it was too clean just because I had reality next to it, and the fact that you titled the piece reality is also, you know, funny. But it would, yeah, and so I don't know if I saw it by itself, would I have even had those thoughts? I mean, because I love the piece.
Well, you wouldn't, and the thing is, even, and so I say this, and this is all in retrospect, right?
Right, yeah.
Because when I finally got it to this point, even I was still like, what the fuck did I just do?
Right,
You know?
exactly.
And that's the thing, because it's like, yo, now I'm just kind of like, there's arms missing, there are limbs missing in this thing. There's all kind of like, there's a toucan eating a fish for no reason. I mean, because he's hungry, but why does he have a dial on his beak? Why does he have a beak? Why is there like a coon man with a skull cap on and a titty in the corner? You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's all that.
There's all that is in there. There's like all kind of craziness in there. But I think I was like, yo, I got it this far. I did this. Whatever I just did, I'm cool with it. This is a lot going on. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. There is a lot going on in this piece.
Right.
It's a lot going on. It's a beautiful piece. It represented to me, and just insight, knowing that you enjoy a comic book background, like this. The comic book aesthetic has been used in this piece, right?
Yeah.
You know, the black outlining and such. It for me is what stands out immediately is that. But I can visibly see that there's a lot going on, and I'm totally intrigued and interested in what have you.
Right.
Which is why I love the piece when I saw it, and I was like, yeah, you've like you're there, you're on it, and let's just see where this where this boat keeps rolling.
Ride it out, baby.
Right, like we're going. But then, like I said, but then you see this, and you're like, where, what, where, how, huh? You know?
Yeah.
Speak-
But I think even with this though, with the reality piece, I think what happened is, because I feel like I was doing the same thing with both these pieces, right?
Okay.
These are both they're both started around the same exact time, and they both had. I thought the structure of the reality one was a lot stronger than Devour at first, right?
Okay.
Then what happened was reality just seemed like, what the fuck did I just do? Because the structure was so strong, I couldn't move beyond whatever I thought the structure was. You feel me? Like I'd done these different things.
Trapped.
There's like, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like used these female figures across the top, and there's actually female figures. It's like supposedly 3 along the left side, and there's maybe one along. So it's like, and then there's one in the middle. So there was like, I don't want to say like 7, 8 female figures, and then already done like this whole like constructed like mechanical video kind of like creature things going on, and I was like, this is so strong, this is so good.
I'm so great.
What did I just do? Because it was like, then I started looking at it like, yo, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure somebody, and that's just me looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But passion for myself. Let me say that out loud. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, this kind of like, this sucks. Can't go anywhere with this. You know what I'm saying? But then what happens is you put it down, and I pick up the Devour piece, and I'm like, I can do something else over here. But I couldn't do the same thing with that. I couldn't do the same thing with reality that I could do with Devour. Okay. You feel me? So then you're like, so you're trying to see what works. And I finished Devour before I finished reality. Reality, this piece I didn't finish this shit till like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? And it was like Devour was done and it felt good. But then with this one, now my path is elongated. My path is, you know what I'm saying, or changed or aggregated, or I'm moving further, right?
Right.
And so now I see the possibility for me to do things and make mistakes that I thought I couldn't make any more mistakes on with Devour. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that idea that, like, you know, when you first get on the bike, you're like, I can only do this move.
Mm-hmm.
I can only skid. And then, you know, like, you know, further down the line, you get on a BMX bike and you're doing backflips off of the ramp. Not me personally,
Right.
but, you know, if I could, I would. You know, shout out to my BMX bike. Anyway, what I'm saying is, Wes, that I'm a different man. I changed. I was able to grow. I wasn't, and so okay. So it's really the idea that you're not stuck within one mode, right?
Right.
Same thing. It goes back to the conversation we're having. Feeling like too stuck on. If I write on a canvas and just draw a figure or draw some little black figures, everybody's comfortable, and I'm comfortable. But then I'm like, this sucks, and I'm no longer comfortable here because this is whack, and this is whack that y'all like just this.
Right.
Pushing me for more. You should want more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we had the whole thing where you sent me that thing on Instagram with, you know, the artists, 9 artists, and all their works look the same.
Right.
But imagine if you're if you're an artist at home, you should be thinking the same fucking thing too.
Right.
Why the fuck does this shit all look alike? Why haven't I grown beyond the last 5 to 10 minutes of my existence? You know what I'm saying? Why am I stuck here? I'm stuck here because I think this is going to help provide for my existence. It's going to help provide for my life. It's going to make me comfortable. Like, the comfort should be in being uncomfortable.
Right.
I feel like, and that's what I'm trying to get to with all of this. Like, I want to be uncomfortable. Like, because I'm creating, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean uncomfortable like, oh no, it's gonna be the end of the world. I'm talking about uncomfortable like, oh, I pushed the needle right there.
Right, exactly. You're pushing yourself.
Right. I'm open to failure because failure only keeps me going forward, keeps me moving forward, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's really the difference between the two pieces. And it's not, but I like both of those pieces. Like the Devour is nuts to me. Like I'll be looking at that shit laughing. Like every time I'm like, oh, that is fucking amazing.
Right.
Oh, wow. But with the reality piece, I think it's just it kind of sums up. It says a lot more. You feel me? Like it kind of resonates with trying to move forward in your existence and understand that, like.
But it's funny because you literally see, I mean, like in like if I'm thinking about like the process of, you know, if I'm thinking about the process of creating, right? And and I don't know if this is necessarily you need to see the other works to get that necessarily, but seeing the various creations, right? Seeing the various choices made, and yet then you see this one, and it's like this was a true expression of like all the various feelings you might feel in the midst of the creating process.
Right. So this is the truth. This one is the most straight up, like taking those ideas, combining them with them, and then being like, oh, I can express even more over top of it.
Right.
You know?
And I feel like with this one, you're literally inserting your own emotion in it, and I see it more so. I think because of how the line work, how, you know, the various scribbles and tagging across of it, but like the energy in it is so much there that doesn't exist in some of the other pieces.
Well, the same freedom doesn't exist at that point.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go. Like, you at that point, you are more free with this.
Right. So in all things, the beginning of the idea, you're beginning to be able to say, I can express something, right? In all things, like I can express something. I can express more than just one existential feeling, a thought, or process, or whatever, right? Reality is the point where you're like, fuck that. It ain't just about me putting the shit on there that I like. Let's just go ahead and go bang, bang, go further. See what happens, see how we feel about it, you know, we'll feel about it later. But if there's a whole, you know, like, it's such a feeling like, yo, like, I'm able to see what else I can possibly do to this thing now. Like, I would go back now and I could do a whole nother thing out of reality now. Like, I create like a whole nother form and figure by blacking out spaces.
Right.
By blanking out certain spaces around it. You know what I'm saying? About maybe putting in all black or all white or all purple around certain areas. I could create a whole new form of figure out of this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the idea, like, it is progression. It feels like progression. You get what I'm saying there? I don't know if you
Absolutely.
get what I'm saying. Yeah, we have to do a drizzly.
I feel, yeah, I can. I definitely see that.
It is that ongoing progression.
And then you have the virtue of tyranny on it.
Oh yeah, because I caught that late night as I was finishing this joint up. So it is like there's a lot of body work down at the bottom, man. You'll never really be able to see it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might be able to check it and see it all, like if you get a chance to like really look at the piece. But it's also that's about the Marquis de Sade. Okay. And you know, the whole freaky dicky shit in France and how they was trying to repress certain things in supposedly a very free society.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is that the idea of the virtue of tyranny, the idea that like it makes you uncomfortable to be free. You feel me? Only because you see your reality, or you are able to feel your reality at a certain point in time, and it causes conflict in you. It causes dissonance. So I'm fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fucking with you because you're not willing to go ahead and take this next step. And I'm sure, and I feel the same way at times. You know what I mean? But it's the idea that, like, how do we get beyond becoming repressive? Because we become repressive in order to maintain what we want to believe our reality to be. But reality is is ongoing. It's not. There's no stasis. It does not just resonate in one place. You keep moving forward. And I'm going to use a lot of wrong words, but people. So if you need to, holler at somebody else about what I'm saying, do you? But
stasis is all the same.
I'm using my slang things. All right. And then, when I started this piece in the spring, man, like I started out with these kind of figures across the middle.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures across the middle.
Right.
That's what it started with. And that was just me kind of playing. Like I was kind of like, fuck it. I was having a real fuck it moment. So I did these kind of like, what do you call it? They reminded me of the Wiz. And actually, this was said, it reminded them of the Wiz. Like, it's like, you can't win. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, not Scarecrow, but kind of like, it's kind of very like black figures that are kind of like, and I started thinking about expanding beyond just those very simple things. And I just wanted to be I wanted to be looser.
So it's funny because I wanted to ask you about these characters. Because I remember them existing prior to reality being stamped on top. But also, I mean, like, so we had this one here.
That dude's hilarious.
Right. And then if I can get there, this one here, which has a more almost historical kind of waiter.
That's old and getting in on something good.
But it's like you almost have like these, like I said, these characters like in Sambo-esque, if even.
They're not Sambo-esque. Oh, let's be careful.
Okay. Well, then and that's what I wanted to ask you. How are you seeing them? And I say Sambo-esque only in the sense that I don't really even mean Sambo per se, but just
no, I get it. It's perfectly cool.
The cartoon.
But even the idea of the scarecrows and like the Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny joints and all of that. Like, I think like it's interesting, man, because you see these images, and while they're related, they try to be related one way. If you look at African mask and imagery, you'll see some of those figures you know what I'm saying? Like
right.
those
very true.
Elongated features, those same features exist. So my other thing was not to get caught up in just that idea that it's Sambo. It's also cartoon, and we're talking about hyperbole. We're talking about extremities of things, right? We're also talking the Wiz, man. So it's also the Wiz. It's also things that we how do you put it? how do we see the images around us? How do we see people around us? How do we, what's the word for it? Because when they draw like the little comics when you go to the beach, they draw you with the big ass head.
Oh yeah, yeah, characters.
Character. They're characters. You know what I'm saying? But they're not all just black characters, but they're characters. You know what I mean? So like,
is it
why not play with them?
Caricatures.
Yeah, characters.
Yeah, there you go. Try that one.
Yeah, but it's just you got to play around with them, and why not? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Why not?
Right.
And I'm using several different styles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like me trying to be on one exact style. Like I'm bouncing back and forth, and that's because like I said before in the beginning, like I'm not good at any one of them. I'm just playing around, seeing what I like and see what works and see what moves.
The tools you have.
Yeah.
Available. I got you. All right, we are going to take a quick pause break.
All right.
Just because, hold on, I don't even know how to pause. Is it still recording? Thank goodness it is. All right, we're back. So one thing I did, am I recording? Let me double check. Okay, we're recording. One thing I did want to bring up or inquire, just let's go over your, what you're actually doing technical wise. Like your medium and what are you using for those that need to know such things?
So we switch gears and talking about that. I'm using, so it's interesting because now I feel like, I avoid paintbrushes. I think we've had this conversation over the years, and like we've actually done jobs where I was forced to paint over large canvases. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, oh my God, fucking horrible night. And they were like, oh, this is great. And I was like, really? This is terrible. But if it passes, so basically what I'm doing now is, of course, I start out with either the Molotov or Montana markers, but I'm also using
let me interrupt real quick. Is this a good piece to start with that, or is there a better one to give a wide example? Okay.
The no quarter piece might be good for it too.
Okay. Let me flip
no quarter is the opposite way.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now I'm using, it's a combination. Where I'm using the Molotov markers, the Montana markers, Montana paints, the Beltron, which is Molotov, I think, spray paints. And then I'm also using brush, and I'm using a little bit of water too.
Okay.
So it's actually like I'm combining all of these together now to create the quality I want or the textures I want.
Right.
And you'll see just like straight up, like at some points I'm just like taking a fucking paintbrush and just going and going back over top of it. You know what I mean? Because I can do that.
Right.
And then so it's like as we mentioned earlier, there's probably a layer. I think there's a layer of text, and then there's a layer of paint, spray paint, then a layer of text, then probably some more spray paint, then me just kind of like formulating some kind of structure. And then you'll see where once the structure is up, then you'll see me go back in with the Molotov markers again. And I'm going with more detailed marker, maybe like a 1.5 or 2 millimeter? I think that's the size. I don't know these things, folks.
Thin line or thick line for simple people.
Right. Thin lines and thicker. Thin lines, a thin marker, and then a thicker marker at certain points in time. And I'm going forth, and then I'm going back over with the paintbrush too, because now I've got it where the paintbrush is actually helping me not only fill space, because that paintbrush I've realized paintbrush will fill some space that You sit there with a marker trying to fill some space. And you're just like,
Right.
Jesus Christ, this just took forever. This just took me forever to do. But if I take a paintbrush and do this, so the interesting thing I've also started to do, Wes, is like using so I ordered the refill bottles for the markers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm using those as my bottle of paint now.
Oh, okay.
It's they're thinner and lighter than using like a bottle of like paint. You know what I'm saying?
Straight out the tube.
Right, straight out the tube. And they cover space and they have a good. That's my new thing, but it's expensive. So you're like, but it's
I was gonna say they're pretty fluid, right?
Yeah, they're extremely fluid, but
exactly.
It's like, but then you're still worried about like when you go back later, how's it gonna hold up?
Mm-hmm.
But they are very fluid. So you'll see in this piece, I think I want to say a lot of the white areas may have gone over it with with the white with the paintbrush with it and then gone back over. But it's just like back and forth because there's like 3 or 4 layers of text.
Right. So it's funny because I recognized when I was in the gallery the other day, I was like, oh yeah, he's finally picked up a brush. In some cases, because I was like, man. And in fact, I saw it was on In All Things was the first piece, just the way I circled the gallery. I was like, my man, finally picked up the brush with it.
You know what? It's so crazy because it's like I straight up was trying to fight it, but there's no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about these bigger pieces and covering space, but also there's a feeling to it. There's a feeling to it that you're like, okay, this creates, this helps me create this feeling that the marker itself can't do. And it's just getting comfortable. But I was also getting comfortable to the point with the markers where it was starting to feel like the markers feel like a paintbrush to me also at this point.
Gotcha.
You feel me? Like, because I started to because now I'm manipulating the nibs to the point where it's like, but it's hard to manipulate those nibs because they go bad on you real quick. And when I say nibs, folks, anybody's listening, it's like each marker comes with like, it's a tip to it. It's literally called a nib. And so you get different sizes and it's hard to keep them like fresh. So even if you know what I'm saying, like it's cool because you can find different details. You can use different details depending on the use, on how used the nib is, in regards to the size.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't necessarily, it's hard to control that.
Right.
So like I got like some dried out like larger markers that I can create like a certain feel, but you can't bring them back. Or you can't, you know what I'm saying? Or like a smaller marker that's gone slightly bad, the nib is gone slightly bad. I create like a cool feeling or a scribble, but then you know what I mean? So it's got to really be it's kind of like you have to be very present with those tools.
Right. Those are certainly like,
yeah, they're not.
They're tossers essentially.
Exactly. And you could try to bring them back, but you can't always. And then you try to use the same technique a week later with that same nib, that marker, and it's like, nah, B, that's done.
Right.
You gotta throw that one away. Yeah. So.
Or find a new way to use me at best, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out to Bombing Science. I found them online, and I've been able to get a lot of materials for them. I'm gonna give shout outs to people just because they, seem cool.
All right. So, I mean, because one thing I did notice in particular that it wasn't on this. Well, one, it was this area right through here. I was like, there's just a lot of like a little bit of everything you do is kind of like right through there for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, and in particular, I was noticing it was on another piece, but this like speckled splatter kind of situation you do. In particular, it seems that you do it over the white, seemingly as a means of muting down a white at times. I don't know if that's just the way I read it.
No, that is exactly what it is. It's also to create. So
and the texture.
I want to create. I want to create texture, but I also want to mute it and have it and push it back some because it also you know this. I don't know if anybody else knows, but I'm also trying to create like these should look like they could be just on a wall you pass. You know what I'm saying? Like this is I'm not a graffiti artist. I'm not saying I'm a graffiti artist. What I'm doing is I'm really just trying to emulate urban exteriors to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? Emulating what I feel like an urban exterior looks like to me, along with my narrative on top of it. But this is the way it would fall. You know what I'm saying? Like going back over.
Let's talk about that for 2 seconds, because it is, I mean, obviously, like you said, you're using spray paint, you're using markers, you're using all the equipment of a graffiti artist.
Yeah.
You know, how does that, do you see, I mean, you say, obviously, you just said you're not a graffiti artist, but there's obviously influence, or, I mean, like how do you not be influenced, I guess, technically, like growing up, like, you know, our age, hip hop, what have you?
Yeah,
you know, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I just think that's I think that I believe I'm emulating what I've seen. I think you know, I think I've grown up in hip hop culture. Like I grew up in hip hop culture. These are the things that I saw. These are the things that I was pulled into. You know what I'm saying? It's like because a lot of the graffiti that you're seeing there out of folks that read comic books, that looked at comic books, that looked at like, you know, different texts, that looked at hip hop album covers in general, and you're fusing all of these things together, right? And so I think this is my reimagining of all of that. Because I think being a graffiti artist is a whole different level of just, I don't have that in me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not tracks. Morning. Spray some shit on the wall. Call me in the morning. I'll take a picture of the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that was nice, buddy. I'm going back to bed. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you could do that, Tyrone. You've been locked up 5 times for that. You are a great human. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? But I think what resonates with me is like, it's just an overall feeling. You're trying to capture, you know, they're trying to capture a moment in a few minutes.
Right.
You know, me, I get time, and I want the time because I also know I'm trying to express something different. I'm trying to express another level of emotional tonality around the work. I use that. Tonality. Bow.
Done. Somebody owes you money for that.
Thank you for emotional tonality, people. Yeah, I think I'm trying to, you know, it's like almost playing it's like homage to them, but also at the same time looking at what I like in contemporary art, and fusing those things together, right?
Right, I see.
So, and I'm sure that they're doing the same thing, but me, I feel like I'm looking more towards this, like, I know what they're doing. I know what, you know, what we say, you know, I don't know who I want to use as an artist in this situation, because I don't want to use any names that I don't feel like talking about later on. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm looking at other artists. I'm looking at artists that I see in the Contemporary Museum of Art, Portrait Gallery, and I'm saying, okay, I love these things. How do I incorporate them all together? But that's also hip hop, right? Hip hop is like, you know,
grabbing from everything.
Right. And I was thinking about this the other day, man. I was thinking about the idea that I feel more in tune with a dude making a beat than maybe the rapper. Because and I say making a beat or making a song where they're like, we're talking about, like, you know, when they used to like take tracks, you know, and they're putting all these tracks together, and maybe somebody uses like something from David Bowie and something else from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? They're mixing these elements together with something else, right? So, and I feel like that's really what I'm doing. It's like I'm pulling on all these different things to create something else.
Yeah, that's really interesting you would say that, considering your use of words. as far as identifying more with the beat maker than the rapper per se, but yet you're writing everything and
the words
creating images with these words and emotion along with actually creating the image.
Yeah. No, I think the words for me at a certain point are more rhythm. I'm not necessarily always, like, I know the words that I'm using. You feel me? I also know that when the graphic design of me is looking at how it like, how, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at how like solace suffering is do. So, and it pulls you, it's gonna make you, it makes you move a certain way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It gives a rhythm and direction. And so all of this moves you one way or back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So it's not this, it's not as simple as just being like, that's text that you should read. Because sometimes you shouldn't read the text. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the fuck it said. I mean, of course, with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything I say has a double entendre to it, or just maybe, a single or double entendre. And then it's like, but it's also to move you. Like, it's to keep you moving around. Like, some shit is just like, some shit I'm just fucking with you. I wrote that shit so you look down there and then you look to the, you see the next thing. Like, don't get caught up in that one space. I don't care about that one space. You know what I mean? I love that space for a minute too, but you got to move. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. How do I keep you moving? How do you really see that? Like, there's so much more going on. I'm trying to tell you so much more. You know what I'm saying? It's not about just that titty in the left corner. It's about what happens when you look down there, see that, and then your eye goes across the page. Or what else do you see in there? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In the background with some goggles on, it's not, but it could have been if I took 10 more minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking about, man. Like, I'm not fixated on you reading the text, because I know the text is there. I know the ideas I'm generating and continuing to keep pushing, but I know that is not the singular focus. Not singularly focused for you to concentrate on solace in suffering. Don't stay there. You know what I'm saying? This is a state. That's a time, but we're still moving. This is impermanent. This is still moving. We're still aggregating. We're still moving forward. We're still progressing in one way, shape, or form.
It's funny how, I mean, as hearing you speak about the work and then seeing the work, there is, how do I even say this? I don't, this might be above my my thinking level.
The pay grade. How much are they paying you today for this?
Oh, I wish they were. I mean, I guess it's the cyclical nature almost of life, in a sense, is how I'm seeing these works play out, right? Like you're saying, not to get stuck here, not to get stuck on this here titty in the corner, as you say.
Right.
Even though who doesn't want to get stuck there? But because you've put something else over here intentionally, that once our eye is there, out the corner, we're gonna go there and be drawn all around this picture and such.
Right.
And so I guess my point being is that, like, you can very much parallel that to life, right? Like, not getting stuck here in this moment, even of your, a moment of of glory and greatness for you. Like, you have to continue past that, right? And because there's more for you in the rest of the canvas, or in the rest of life, so to speak.
And that's the thing, like, so this is all about, like, I just, it's funny because I just finished writing the description for, it was probably for the reality piece. And it was basically the idea, it was, well, devour and reality, because I was writing them at the same time. And really, I was stuck on just the idea that, like, with both of them, I'm stuck on the idea that, like, it's like, even in the world today, we've created this idea with social media and everything that we're giving up the idea that you can build and destroy things, because we've time-stamped so many things. We're able to time-stamp everything, right? So what we say here right now, somebody's gonna hold against me in 5 to 10 years, maybe 30 years. maybe
Right.
30 years from now, or Rodney Buck Herring or Buck was saying something about you looking at the left side and a titty. We don't say that anymore. And you're like, I said that at Sunday at 2:30, dog. I was drinking. I was tired. I hadn't really slept the night before. Had to let Manito in the door. Yeah, Nish is walking through. You know what I'm saying? There's a bottle of Dobel on. Like we're giving up the idea that time moves forward. That time is ever moving forward. This doesn't stop.
Right.
The art doesn't stop. I'm moving you through this so you can get to somewhere else.
Right.
Not the end all be all. This is not the last thing I'm going to do. I don't want you to think this is the last thing. This is what I did today, or this is what I did over the last 3 months, last 6 months. This is where I am. This is where I was. This is where I'm trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And we're so caught up, and and when I say us, I think humanity is kind of in this weird place right now. We're trying to understand our significance, and we're also dealing with the idea that technology may be overshadowing us. It's not, but we feel that way, and we feel that, and other people feel that whatever sense of being or identity is being lost because of also what you're able to do with technology. It's weird. Technology is on both sides of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of lost in this space trying to figure it out. But it's not just technology that's just the problem. Human beings are the problem. It's back and forth about understanding that we're always moving forward. And what you believe tomorrow will be, most likely will not be, because you are not a fortune teller. And,
So your comment on time a second ago made me think about just literally the amount of time that goes into a work per se, and more importantly, just how long, or rather, how much do you create in a year? Do you even track that?
Did we try to, we had this conversation?
I feel like we talked about it like a minute ago though.
Yeah, I think, and so, folks don't know that this is kind of like a rehash for me on being like a full-time artist, right? But at this point, think 2020, I did 30 pieces.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's a lot.
Yeah,
I won't say it's ridiculous, but it's a lot. But so to that, I guess is my point.
30, if I include my the 9x12s,
mm-hmm.
I did a bunch of 9x12s.
Mm-hmm.
I got like some small pieces on wood that you've seen, like little small ones that I did.
Right.
30 plus pieces. But it's COVID. What else are you gonna do? Like, I'm in the house.
That makes for a special case. But so I remember us having a conversation really, and I was like it just seems like you're running. Like, what are you like? You're like, I got a lot to say, and I was like, okay, but what do you feel like you're running? Like, what are you chasing something? Or are you just like, do you feel like the clock is ticking? Like, how, as far as your process?
That's a real Sagittarius thing, man. Because you don't want to be like a Bruce Lee nigga and run out of time.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Lee. Like,
you gotta be great while you're here.
Be great. And so I think I also started. So on one note, I think it started to hit me. Charger. Oh, my bad, dog. Interruption. Manito needed something. I think what happened to me was like it hit me that like I kind of, it's not a regret. When I say this is not a regret, I felt like I wasted a lot of time. And I haven't wasted time. I think I got caught in the minutia of life. I feel like I've just lived life, and I feel like there's been a time span and I was not producing what I needed to produce.
Okay.
In retrospect, it's like now it's like, yo, you gotta produce. And so I'm trying to produce and create as much as possible. And I also have that energy. It's like a different energy now. You know what I'm saying? And so when we said the last 5 years, this whole idea, the ideas around humanity, right?
Right.
Last 7 years, the idea that like I can think more, like my brain started to like open up. You know what I mean? I'm being very fucking basic as possible. My brain opened up, y'all. I felt free. And you also start to think about like, yo, like, man, I want to create. And like, you're so happy to create. And once you start painting, you know that feeling like once you start working out, then you want to work out more. You know what I'm saying? You want to work out when you can. Yo, it had to be like, when was I? We got hit up LA because I was out in Los Angeles. I was out in LA and I was out there with LA, Lance Boogie. And I was like, yo, I need like some paper on the wall. And I started just doing pieces. And he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, but I was starting to feel it then, man. Like I just like my brain had reopened. You know what I'm saying? For like it was time to start creating. And like now, like, yeah, I'm also competitive. I'm competitive as shit. You know this. So like I can't be sitting there looking at somebody that's like supposedly my contemporary and being like, I'm happy that this nigga's doing this shit and I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? And not even because I'm trying to be better than him, but because I should be doing this shit too. Like I do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And not just like, yeah, like you know, I think they called me a disruptor the other day. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, motherfucker, I am. Like, I'm out here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if we're gonna have this whole, if we're talking, if we're being free, if we're being free and being open about this shit, like, yeah, I'm out here too. And everything you hear does not need to be the same exact thing that you've heard from everybody else.
Right.
You got room for all these cats that are doing their thing, that are like contemporary, same age group, not even same age group, that are out here shit. Maybe went to school with me, maybe went to a HBCU, maybe went to whatever kind of school. Maybe they're East Coast artists or West Coast artists. I'm giving my perspective. My perspective needs to be given. You know what I mean? Like I can do that. That's what I want to do and I need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think
stamp.
Yeah. Especially so, I mean, what sticks with me in particular is, like you said, just that the idea of you've wasted time doing whatever it was previously, and now almost like it's almost just like a backlog of that time that you've been not expressing, and that you almost have to catch up to yourself.
It feels like you feel like it builds up.
Right.
It builds up and you want to be constructive with it, right? And I've been allotted the space to be constructive with that. You feel me? Everybody doesn't get that opportunity. So it's also being aware of the opportunity and the time frame to be like, yo, you got to go ahead and do this. Like if you don't do it now, does it matter? It won't matter in the end.
Right.
And it may not matter at all anyway. Let me put that out there to all of y'all who are just like, oh my God, it's the end of the world for me because I didn't create today. No, this may not mean shit in the end. It's just, but it's me putting it out there. Shoot the J. If you don't shoot the J, you ain't shoot the J. You know what I'm saying? That's all, you know, that's all it is to it.
Right. Break down this piece here for us. Like what's the deal? How does this fit in the overall?
Yeah, so no, of course I'm playing around with those the bodies. But in the series I'm talking about, like, it's kind of like this is a respite. This piece is a respite. This is the moment like somebody gets to, you're on the path, you know, tuckered out. You're tuckered out. You did everything you do. You gotta lay down for a minute. And I don't think people understand that you also have tomorrow. You know what I mean? You may be tired. You may feel like it's the end of the rope. It's not. You gotta lay down and take a rest, motherfucker. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and there's an initial quote behind it. It was like, the angels fly because they take things lightly. I'm not quoting exactly the way it was written. It's just the idea that, like, you know, if you take if you take today so seriously that you can't get up tomorrow,
I hear
what was
you.
the point of today? Like, this is not that serious. Like, you can rest, sit down, take a minute to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, I was thinking about like those, those Leonardo da Vinci, like those, like the cherubs. I started thinking about the cherubs and all that stuff flying
Right.
around and shit. And I was like, that would be cool because it's like this idea that like it's two different perspectives. Like you're laying there, in this case, it's like a female figure laying there, but it's like the idea that like if you were to look up, you would see like these cherubs, these angels flying above you, and it's just like it'll keep you company. You know what I'm saying? This is your imagination, your mind. Your mind needs to hold on to something to believe that you can. There's a reason for you to do to get to tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, whatever you create in your brain to say, yo, I got to get to tomorrow. Whether somebody be like, come on, you can come to some weird figure like that. Like that's based on like that idea that like there's like some little motherfucker, little pan playing the pan flute, and it's like, oh, I got to go into the next part of the journey. You know what I mean? So that's what that shit is all about.
It's funny because this figure is probably the first one that I didn't necessarily register as being a female figure.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. It didn't have to. You'd be an old man. You'd be an old man with a doo-wop on it.
Right. The I was gonna say the hair is probably the only semi-reference, but
yeah. But even like the cartoon figure, I don't know if you can the cartoon figure there. Yeah, like it's like that's kind of like the race car driver
kind of
looking
this
at
figure here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I was thinking about was like if you're, it's also the idea of being like
is that like a fish?
There's a whole idea. Huh?
Is that like a fish?
Where are you
that cartoon figure that you mentioned?
No, that one is like I was playing off of like Speed Racer.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Speed Racer. You gotta look at it a certain way. Like it's like a race car driver. Like it's a woman race car driver. She's like fixated. But it's the idea of like it's so I think it's Leonardo da Vinci has this whole thing like around relentless rigor. That's his thing. Was like relent. I can't say it in Italian, so I'm not gonna fuck that up right now for anybody. Okay, but it's like that idea that you keep going and you outwork everybody, you just keep working. Not outwork everybody, just keep working, right?
Right.
Keep working towards your goal. You keep working, you work. But it's the idea that she's so fixated on it. But in order to be that, you also have to be able to see. I mean, you can't. While you're focused on the road, you have to understand that there is the road. You know what I mean? Like you relate to the road, you relate to where you're going. So it's kind of like, so there's the respite, there's the understanding there's something out there that's going to tell you to keep moving. And it's also that kind of like that energy where you're like, I'm going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? You're like, you know what I'm saying? But you got to understand that road is there, my nigga. If you don't understand that road is there, it might go bad because you got to respect the road too.
True.
You know what I mean? So you're relating to that. You know what I mean? So all of that's it's all encompassing the one and the same thing, man. I love this piece because I was actually still figuring like, I'm like, if it don't sell, I'm gonna go back over and drop some red over top of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little red up in the top corner. I might drop some red up there. And maybe down here because I was feeling like it was kind of like now we're seeing more like that sun coming out of there too. So, but yeah, it's like
sorry.
That just went crazy.
Yeah, that hit the thing.
But this didn't even start out the same way, man. It started out a whole different feeling when it was just sitting there by itself.
It did. And so I mean, the journey of a artwork is always, an interesting thing to behold. It's almost kind of like an honor to see the progress, right? It's almost like you get to see a child from its infancy to its grown stage, right?
I didn't see that coming.
Right,
I didn't see T-Mac going to prison. And to see him dropping out of high school.
So yeah, where they go, I mean, it is very interesting.
Listen, because there's some pieces on my wall right now. I'm like, that motherfucker, he didn't make it. He didn't make
You're
it.
a loser.
You're a loser, child.
Oops, I keep doing that. I don't know how I'm flicking between these joints, but
I'm using the arrow key.
no, I wasn't actually. I just moved the mouse real quick. But all right, what else do we need to cover here, brother?
I don't know, man. You tell me, man. I feel like we're doing a pretty good job here.
I'd say so. I think
Shit, brother. Yeah.
the only thing I had on here left was I can think of in particular was just line work. But I think we even covered that. Just
Yeah.
like
Was there another piece that was like? I know you put up the absolute catharsis piece.
right. That was.
I know the finest space piece was like.
These two,
interesting.
yeah, these two almost work as like diptychs.
They are.
They
actually are. We started one. So with the finest space piece, so what happened was it was like that was early spring, and it actually the weather was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
I was outside playing around with horseshoe spray, but I started out with like pulling paint.
Mm.
I took it outside and I was pulling the black paint, trying to create all these different textures and all these different feelings.
Okay.
So it's like all these striations of like black paint with like I'm pulling them with like I was using a brush, I was using a squeegee,
mm-hmm.
and pulling paint, and then I started spray painting after that. And it created like a nice effect, and I went back in with I think that's marker. And it just really pulled together, and it was really just I was just gonna sell it as an abstract with nothing on it. Because people they're like, oh, that's a dope abstract. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to shoot myself. I really want to shoot myself in the forehead. Because that shit was so like lame. You know what I mean? It wasn't lame, folks. If you liked it as an abstract, that's totally
good for you.
Yeah, but it was very on point, man. It felt comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like what it was supposed to be. It felt good, but then it was like it wasn't speaking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It didn't say shit. So in order for it to say something, I needed to add what I felt like was going on with the thought process with that beginning of the series, the Water Will Find Its Way series. That is kind of just more existential feeling of like you get outside of yourself and you find freedom in some way, shape, or form. What does it look like? And what works out is that I was minimal with text.
Right.
And the structure became about using the space to define space, which is indefinable.
I was gonna say, I mean, you were minimum with everything practically on this one, and this is another one where scale matters. Because I mean, this scale, you're I mean, if you stand in front of the piece, I mean, you're almost enveloped by it. Just
right. So, and it's so like, man, a lot of this is like kind of like it just felt like the piece is 6x5.
Right.
But it doesn't feel 6x5 when you're just like looking at it on like
exactly.
But when you're in front of it, you're like
it has a whole different presence. In fact, like you really begin to feel it. You begin to feel that the arch of the figure. You begin to feel those black striations. You really just begin to feel it all, and even the verbiage. These, the text operates like stars in a sense.
And that's what it's supposed to. Yeah, it draws your eye, but it feels so small, and it makes you feel small.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just makes you feel like, oh, this is the expanse of space. And then you feel like you are floating when you're looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
with the and with absolute catharsis, it really is the other piece is really just it's an overhead view of the same thing. It's actually an overhead view. So imagine the hand being you're staring up, that hand is above you.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it's like you're floating and you really are you're in this space. You know what I mean? So the funny thing is a lot of this, like these figures I've been working with are figures of like figures in water, which is in which we know water covers what 70-80% of the planet, something crazy like that.
Right.
But it's like that same kind of, and if you see figures in water, they're within the expanse of a space, a large space that you really can't define if you're just in, you know, when you're there. And so it's just to create that feeling, but it's just the yeah, I think this is like the absolute catharsis piece compared to the finding space piece is like you're in there figuring it out. Whereas the finding space is kind of like almost submission.
Okay.
So this is like you trying to figure it out until you do figure it out. Whereas finding space is like you figured it out.
Right.
So it's kind of like the names of the flip. If you think about the names of the pieces.
Right. Yeah.
But that's how they work together. This works as what absolute catharsis is. You know, looking up and understanding that you are here. You know what I mean? And it, you know, trying to, man, I just feel like and this is the first piece. This is January. I started this in January. And it's like there's a layer of text that most folks will never find. That, I mean, I actually do see it now. There's like there's like 5 different layers on top of this. Maybe more. It's actually more. But it's just like a back and forth and that play of like stress, tension, and peace.
So this was, I mean, you started this piece right after our trip to Basel, basically, right?
Yep. Yeah, the canvas was delivered. I think the canvas was delivered like right after we got back from Basel. And then I didn't get started until like the beginning of the year.
Right.
Before I went to South Africa right after I got started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did any of that play a part in this piece? I'm just curious.
No, in a way, no. To this piece, no. I did just think about one thing that may have been a part of it. I just kind of don't want to add it to it because I don't want to making up some shit to add to it.
Right. Don't dirty the piece up.
I will not dirty the piece up. But I did watch some kids play like on this tree. I took a photo of these motherfuckers. Is wild. They were having the best time. We're right. It's like little artistic district. There's like all this real stuff going on. It's like these kids. I'm like, where do y'all live at in this district? They were like playing on the street, just kind of like messing it up. And it was kind of like they were just very free. You know what I'm saying? So I think that may fall into like the idea of like these figures that are floating in space. But I think that's the only thing I can think of that was a part of that. Oh man, I like this piece. Like the catharsis piece is my shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think people get scared of having text and things like this. It makes them feel like there's a lot more going on. Where like
I mean, I could see that, but in particular, I was also thinking too, the evolution of your line work, right? Like here, line is used completely different than the works we talked about previously that came after this.
Yeah.
So here, I mean, like it's almost more gestural in a sense, would you say? I mean, it's almost reference in a way, either reference to I think of it as either sometimes reference to movement, like directional lines to tell you something's falling or what have you, or just like bits of energy even at times, or even referencing a tag that doesn't really exist. which is actually similar in the sense to just energy. Energy, if I think about it.
Exactly what it is. I mean, yeah, it's kind of it's funny for us to have this conversation because yes, that's what it is. It really is
Okay.
more just gesticular, or like I see something or I feel something. That's let me keep going. Also, I am creating movement with it.
Right.
I'm this way or that way of moving you up and down. Like there's a lot of times, like when I'm doing lines, gestural lines that are going up or down, I'm doing that to move your eye up and down the page. I want to see you do this, and I want to see you go across, and I may want to see you like go this way. You know what I mean? Like I may want you to do like I'm forcing your eye to do this. Whether you really want to do this or not, it's going to happen because that's what the line work does.
Right. You'll naturally follow the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like this worked, man. Like I feel like all the energy worked, and it sat for like this actually sat for an extra 4 or 5 months before I went back in and feel like I finished it up.
Really?
Like added that little small brain in the corner, and then like this other text that there's a whole bunch of text that like wasn't on there that all of a sudden felt necessary. Like there's little blips and like lines that move you from here to there, like the X's and the squares on like the chess figures. And like there's a whole bunch of text that just didn't exist before that because it didn't feel necessary. And all of a sudden it felt like this is what needs to be here. This is what's going to move us. This is what's going to move me through this. And this is what's going to get across the feeling and finish it up.
Gotcha.
You know, so yeah.
That's what's up, brother. I think we've come to it, man.
I think we've done enough.
I think we've done it. The show, In All Things, it's amazing. It works.
Thanks, bro.
The work is working.
It
Congratulations. You've made it through another.
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
So yeah. I don't know how you close these things, man.
I just know that listen, we just out here working. Yeah, he's out here working, doing the best we can. I'm gonna say thank you to Art of Noize. Thank you to Sneak Shot Photography, aka Vicky, aka
right on.
In crime. I'm gonna say thank you to Wesley Clark.
Cheers.
Cheers, young brother. Shout out to the Old School AM radio crew. Why not? Shout out to my man Manito. You know what I'm saying? To Casa de Bracy, de Soul, whatever, how we say that. Shout out to the I don't even know what the fuck I need to shout out. It's out here, man. I'm out here, bro. We out here just trying to live, man. You know what I'm saying? Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Wear a mask.
Wear a fucking mask. It ain't that fucking hard.
It ain't really.
What the fuck y'all protesting? Oh yeah, that's it, bro.
Cool. All right, good people. You've heard it. The man, Buck himself. He's giving you it all, man. He's laid it out.
Laid it out for you.
He's laid it out for you.
LA. We gotta get out there with LA Boogie.
I know.
LA Boogie.
Y'all go check out the show. The show comes down January 30th.
30th,
right?
Yeah, I think
so
30th.
Listen, you got a whole month.
We're posting a virtual show sometime next few weeks to go along with this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't get out the house. We got a few people that can't get out to see the show. So
this is true.
Gotta make sure.
I was allowed a brief exploration out the house to see this work. But no, I will say it is truly a show that if you can make it out, you definitely should. Seeing it digitally does not do it justice. When I mean, like as we've been seeing it here on the screen and such, you really have to feel these works in person, which is one would imagine that's often the case, but it is certainly the case here. And if you're in the DC area, then you have the opportunity to do so. I highly encourage you to see it. What gallery hours are like Friday, Saturday, and the rest of the week by appointment, I believe.
I think he was saying Wednesday through Saturday, select hours,
Okay.
and in limited capacity. Because we still in COVID, y'all. Wash your
There you
hands.
go. All right, bet we're gonna end this thing right here.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Wes.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you. Glad to be here.
No doubt.
Anytime. Thanks for asking me to be a part of this.
Who else?
All right, we're out.
All right, man.